An entire army gets wiped out and the hero just watches because he knew they didn't stand a chance. And when the commander confronts him, he slaps her and walks away to train. This is the overly cautious hero summoned to save a dying world. The knights introduced themselves as the Roseguard Imperial Knights. They requested his assistance as their knight commander, and a battalion of knights were under attack at a nearby castle. Saya immediately showed attitude, while Raysta was reluctant about helping them. He asked what direction the castle was, and they took off without the knights. Up ahead was a roachman named Bale Bub leading the force. The hero's party stood by and watched as the Roseguard soldiers were being targeted and slaughtered. When they arrived, they introduced themselves to the knight commander, Commander Rosalie. The moment she saw them, she eagerly ordered her men back to their deaths and to march into the demon's lair. But Carlo suggested regrouping and forming a strategy with the hero before their counterattack. The moment Saya heard her words, he understood why all of her men died. During their meeting, Rosalie got up in frustration and said they didn't need to strategize. Her and the hero will charge right into the demon's lair. Saya got up and declared the meeting was pointless, and his next course of action was to leave. This shocked everyone in the room, except his party. He said he'll be gone no more than 3 days, but the fortress would be wiped out by then. Rista stepped in and explained the time difference. 3 days in the Divine Realm would be only an hour in Gaia-Brande. Rosalie asked why he would bother to go train when he was already so powerful. Saya mistakenly mentioned they were watching the battle earlier, and he had no counters for flying enemies. Rosalie demanded to know if he really stood by, while all of her soldiers died on the battlefield, and he said yes. Rista tried to defend him, but she was disgusted with them and called them cowards. She pointed out Rista's immortality, and that the lives of her soldiers meant nothing to her because she couldn't die. Saya pointed out she was worse, as a leader leading an army to their deaths just for the sake of glory. It was a pointless battle, and with powerless fools marching to their deaths with no strategy at all. The moment she heard that, she called him scum and opened up her palm, attempted to slap him, but Saya blocked it, and bitch slapped her back to Gaia-Brande. Rista got in between them and begged Saya to apologize to her, but he said it was self-defense. She got up and tried to strike him again, but he ended up beating her ass. She pulled out her sword and called him a fraud and a jerkface. Rista demanded he apologize for making her cry, but he said it was self-defense. While in tears, she declared she didn't need a hero like him, and she would storm the demon's lair herself. Saya scanned her and realized she was the War Master's daughter, but she would still just get herself killed. He asked Rista to open a portal, and they departed, while Rosalie growled behind them like a rabid dog. When they got back, Rista asked him to never do anything like that again, but he said he couldn't help it. The crap she was spewing disgusted him and triggered his slap button. Moving forward with no chance of winning, just building up casualties. He asked if there was a goddess or god that could help him gain a skill to defeat the demon flies. She introduced him to Metis, goddess of archery. He immediately asked how many arrows she could shoot at once. She answered that it is impossible to shoot multiple arrows at once, but she is able to shoot in quick succession to mimic simultaneous fire. She put down the noob level bow and summoned a legendary bow. She demonstrated by firing it and decapitating a tree. After centuries of training, 7 shots in a row was her limit. He asked if she would be able to hit a speeding demon flying in the air, and she said indeed, but it would be impossible for a peasant human like him. And of course, Saya didn't agree and demanded to be trained. She said his first step is to manifest a magic bow. He looked over at Alulu and requested she show him how to cast her fire arrow technique. She raised her arm to demonstrate, but he raised his arm and instantly casted the bow. She was immediately discouraged and said hitting the target is the hardest part, but he shot the apple that tempted Adam and Eve easily in one shot. After seeing Saya flex his muscles, the goddess Metis decided to train him. Alulu got disappointed and lost every shred of dignity she had left, while Rista tried to cheer her up by calling Saya a freak of nature. Suddenly, they spotted Circeus walking around proudly. The moment he spotted the group, he panicked as he realized the psychopath hero is back as well. He warned them not to let Adenala see them because she's become 10 times worse since they left, walking around mumbling that she wants to kill Saya. Rista and the kids visited Arya next to ask for advice because she didn't want Saya to get shanked by a deranged goddess. But Arya said that Saya wouldn't even be fazed. Arya then offered to unleash Masha's Dragon God seal and offered to draw out Alu's inner potential. Rista went to check on Adenella, but the moment she walked in on her room, she saw murder written all over the walls. She turned around and the crazy bitch was standing there, ready to shank her, but Rista lied and said she didn't know where Saya was, then ran away. She ran back to Saya and warned him not to leave the Divine Forest until it was time to leave. But Saya informed her the crazy hag was standing right behind her. She said she knew Rista was lying and decided to follow her. The goddess of war unsheathed her sword, ready for the boss fight of her life. Saya began approaching her with his charm and said it had been a while. He asked how she had been. He said her hair looked awful, then patted her on the head and asked her if she wanted a comb. He did this until she ended up forgiving him. He calmly said he had to finish his training, and her being here was distracting, and asked her if she could leave. She then happily complied and ran away giggling while Midas watched from the shadows. Rista went back to Arya to complain even more. She said she thought she would know Saya better by now, and when Arya heard that, she quickly changed the subject. She opened the door to show her how the kids were doing. Mash demonstrated his dragon transformation by partially transforming his arm, drastically increasing his attack power. Rista said it looked disgusting, and Elulu said it was gross. Arya commended him on it, but clowned him as well. Elulu demonstrated her new skills by patting Mash on the shoulder and casting delay on him, making him slower than a turtle. He begged her to change him back then. She casted haste and sped him up like this guy. The hidden potential that Arya spoke of before was support magic. With that and Saya's bow training, their party would be unstoppable. But when Arya heard those words, she stopped everything. She asked if Midas was the one training him this time, and Rista said yes. She called her foolish and said Midas was a terrifying goddess that was banned to the divine forest by Ishtar. She's obsessed with human men, drags them off and rizzes them up for fun.
Yeah, boy.
Allowing any summoned heroes around her is absolutely forbidden. Rista rushed back to the forest, but when she got back, she found Saya standing there staring at a tree. When she looked over, she saw Midas tied up and hanging upside down like some type of freak. She declared this was his final test as an archer. He was to fire 3 shots, simultaneously hitting the ropes holding her, and afterwards catch and save her with his own hands. Saya summoned his magic bow and shot the arrow right through her forehead, causing Rista to completely freak out. Midas laughed maniacally, freed herself from her bonds, and jumped down right when little Almash and Elulu showed up. She charged him like a disgusting monster, but Saya's trigger finger was too quick. He pulled out his 10mm Glock and shot her 2 more times. She turned her sights on poor Mash and chased him down. He ran for his life, but a mortal couldn't outrun a goddess. He turned around, ready to surrender, but Saya was too swift. He knew she would target the mashed potato and shot 5 arrows into her, pinning her to a tree. She claimed a human firing 5 shots at once was something she never expected or experienced, and said he graduated from her archery school. He declared he was 100% prepared for the demons. When they got back to the castle, one of the peasant bums informed them that Captain Rosalie already went to the demon's lair. Rista spotted the captain being reckless, and Saya suggested using her as a decoy. When the roachman appeared, he said he predicted this and was going to snipe him. Suddenly, demon flies came soaring above them. He claimed flies have an amazing sense of smell, and it was her goddess stench that led them over. When she asked the children if she smelled like poop, Mash said not super bad today, and Elulu said not enough to be concerned about, pretty much implying she smelled like a dog. Saya said he was going for a headshot, but suddenly, a group of bum knights appeared behind them, attracting the demons over while Captain Rosalie screamed out to Beelzebub asking for a fair fight. Apparently, our overly cautious hero predicted this as well. The roachman took Rosalie as a hostage and flew off. Saya poked Rista in the stomach and demanded she be the next decoy. She caught up to Beelzebub and demanded he release her. When he saw the goddess, he realized the hero would be close by and decided to fly up high so the hero's attack couldn't reach him. Just before it could toss Rosalie down, an arrow flew up, nearly hitting the roach, causing him to let go of her. After Rista caught her, 7 rays of light glimmered in the distance, but he evaded all 7. He charged towards Saya, but suddenly he coughed up blood and a hole appeared in his chest. Rosalie pointed out the arrows he dodged, transformed into magic birds, and penetrated and broke his back. After the battle, Rista asked if he had a cool name for the new move he just performed, and he said it was the Boomerang Birdie Boom Boom. After saving the sandwich maker, she said the title hero doesn't suit him, but he didn't care about her opinion, causing her to growl like a rabid dog again. He sensed the kids got stronger, so he ordered the 2 picksqueaks to take care of the remaining flies. But before they could do anything, he started shooting them all down with his automatic switchy and 100-round drum. He then ordered Elulu to use haste on Mash and told him to collect the flies into a pile, and you already know what was going to happen next. He instantly resorted to Hell's Fire and incinerated the demons. While the children lost every shred of dignity, they had left as they were just considered his janitors. Before departing, Captain Rosalie mentioned a legendary armor in the shrine near the village of Izal, the village where they met the dwarves. She claimed her kingdom had been safeguarding it for years and was tasked to bestow it upon the hero when he arrived. Skeptical as always, he asked if she was sure it wasn't cursed armor. She insisted it was sacred, but he argued that it could have been cursed, sacred, and legendary. Exhausted with this lunatic, she rode off on her little pony. Rista then suggested they stop at the village to pick up the armor. The kids were exhausted, and Saya spent most of his MP cleaning up the flies, so he suggested staying at an inn. Rista was overjoyed to finally take a shower with her stank ass, but she was mistaken. When they got to the village, it was completely eradicated. They spotted a monster looming over the item shop and headed over. When they confronted the shop owner, the monster spat out the sacred armor, and the shop owner introduced himself as Summoner Kilkapul, one of the 4 heavenly kings. The dwarf casted it away and unwrapped the heads of his wife and son. His plan was to sacrifice himself, his family, and the entire village to invoke the most powerful summoning magic. He stabbed himself and collapsed to the floor, while Saya requested Rista open a portal. Suddenly, a demon was summoned, and when they checked its stats, it was gibberish. Saya sent an attack and sliced it open, then demanded the useless wench open the portal. She asked why again, and it regenerated. She was surprised it actually landed an attack on Saya then. He used his maximum inferno and demanded she do her job and open the portal. He grabbed the children and tossed them in, while Rista requested to be put in delicately, but he kicked her into the portal. When they got back, Saya said he was hurt and needed healing. He showed them the wound, and they couldn't believe it. He said he started with 300,000 HP and lost 100, and he won't go back into battle without full health. While Rista started healing him, the demon tore a hole and penetrated through the dimensions into the divine realm. She turned around and asked Saya what to do, but he suggested retreating. That horrified her, as the most powerful and cautious man she had ever known was backing down. 3 bum-ass gods stepped up to the plate and outright attacked the demon for invading, but they did 0 damage. Saya ran away with a genius plan, while the Grim Reaper defeated the 3 bums. He ran past the bummy god Cerseus and ruined his cake. He encountered Adenala and used his charm to order her to fight the demon. He said if she won, they could hang out together. The goddess of war unsheathed her blade, but she was easily beaten up and tossed aside like a nasty side of fries. He looked for Valkyrie, the goddess of destruction, and found her painting on the top of a roof. He stood still and juked the attack, causing it to hurl straight for her painting. She got up, furious, screaming she would paint the next one with its blood. She charged in and crushed its skull, but it stood up, unfazed. She summoned dimensional chains, but it easily broke through. The goddess of destruction called out to Ishtar to release her divine powers, and used a forbidden jutsu called the Reaper Death Seal. She summoned the gates of Valhalla, and it consumed the demon and banished it into the void. After the battle, she dropped to her knees, and blood started splurting out of her. She explained the gate of Valhalla uses the summoner's body as a catalyst and destroys the user. She got up and instantly gave Rista a pat on the back, but before the rub and tug, Saya grabbed her arm and kicked Rista out of the way. He claimed she was the one for him, and that she would have to be the one to train him. After rizzing each other up in the most disgusting way, she agreed and told him to stop by her place. Mash and Alulu both requested to visit Arya for more training themselves, and Rista approved. Saya pulled out a piece of the sacred armor that the tortoise chewed up and pulled out a strand of her hair to synthesize it into his sword. She embraced Saya for his sharp thinking, but he demanded that she step back because she smelled like garbage still. Rista stopped by the bathhouses, where she ran into Cerseus. He told her that Ishtar wanted to see her, so she went off. Ishtar informed her that the last heavenly king is leading an army to invade the capital of Gaiabrandi and told her to hurry back. Before leaving, Ishtar told her to bathe before because she smelled like vinegar. When Rista finished washing her stank ass, she went to Arya's to check on the kids. When she arrived, Arya presented a fully transformed dragon Mash and a shining Elulu. Mash mastered his dragon, god transformation, and Elulu mastered S-rank support magic. They got back to Valkyrie's place, and Rista was devastated to set her eyes in such travesty. Valkyrie claimed she was a low-ranking goddess, so she wouldn't understand. This was the proper way to train a hero. Rista started breaking down, claiming she worked so hard to make Saya a gift to help him as well. She pulled out a menacing voodoo doll, and when Valkyrie mentioned it looked like it was made from oily golden hair, she realized Rista made it from pulling out locks of her own hair. Valkyrie freaked out and said she won't give her random massages anymore, then left the room. She broke down in tears asking Saya why he didn't like her, and he said it was because she was gross. After suiting up, the crew headed back to Gaiabrandi, and before leaving, Saya did not declare he was 100% prepared, and Rista was too worked up to notice. When they got back, an army of demons stood in front of the capital. The last heavenly king stepped out and requested a one-on-one duel with the mightiest warrior on the human side. Just before croaking, an old bum stepped up and obliterated the demon with one move. He then lit up his Excalibur and wiped the battlefield with demon blood. After the battle, the cancerous old man fell to his knees and transformed into Benjamin Button. They spotted a bar, and Rista suggested going in for a drink. He asked her if she really wanted to get intoxicated before the most important fight of their lives, and besides that, someone could get drunk and stab one of the kids with a broken bottle. Next, they stopped by a casino, and she asked him to go in, but he said even if the chance of losing was 1%, he still wouldn't gamble. She begged him to go in, and that they may win a weapon to help fight the Demon Lord. He immediately called her foolish to believe a weapon that would hurt the Demon Lord could be found at a local casino, then proceeded to justify Valkyrie, calling her a third-rate goddess. Saya walked off to a merchant selling medicinal herbs. The man said the herbs he was selling had triple the healing power. Saya said if he was lying, he'll come back and burn down his shop, then said he'll take 1,000. Rista said they didn't need them since she was a goddess of healing, but the merchant wasn't losing the sale. He demanded to have a competition, then called out to a poor peasant that was fighting the Demon Lord's army earlier. Rista gave it her all and transformed into some random woman from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. After 10 minutes, the man was completely healed from the herbs and Saya grabbed every last one, while Rista threw a tantrum. They went to the castle to speak with Rosalie. She informed them that on his way to fight the Demon Lord, the War Master was suddenly turned into a baby. She requested that if he asked to fight the Demon Lord beside him, that he turn him down. When they spoke with the War Master, Saya immediately said he didn't need his help with the Demon Lord because he was an old fart. Suddenly, a messenger came in and reported that the Demon Lord's forces were attacking. He ordered Rista to stay with the War Master because she was useless and asked the kids to join him. The War Master took Rista to visit their cathedral. All of a sudden, he asked her if she knew why the gods are immortal, but she didn't. He noted that when gods and goddesses enter a world, they bring along with them a virtual soul, and their real soul is safe in a room in the divine realm where time stood still. He informed her about a magical item called chain destruction that is able to slay a divine being. If one is struck down with it, it would affect their real soul. Apparently, the Demon Lord had already created one and gave it to him, the God Eater, so he could slay the goddess that supported the hero. She asked why, and he told her on his way to slay the Demon Lord, he realized he was too weak in the presence of his aura farming power, and that he was never meant to be a hero. The Demon Lord realized this, and took advantage of the darkness in his heart, the built-up resentment of fighting demons for 30 years, and not being powerful enough. Truly pathetic. He offered him a chance to be reborn with a new purpose. He attempted to strike her down, but she dodged at the last second. He used the God Eater's limbs to grab a hold of her and formed into a spear, ready to impale her. All of a sudden, rays of light flew toward the old man. Mash, Alulu, and Rosalie were at the door. Saya appeared and cut her free, but didn't even bother to catch her. He kicked her over towards the kids. Alulu claimed Saya was worried about her and came back to check. He had considered every possibility. The possibility the heavenly king he slayed didn't really die, or the possibility that he was possessed by the Demon Lord, or that the Demon Lord had obtained a weapon that was able to kill a goddess. And what if he gave that weapon to the War Master? The old man ate a piece of poop given to him by the Demon Lord and transformed into a demonkin. Saya rushed in with his eternal swords, but the old man deflected one of his blades. Saya began taking off all of his training weights like Rock Lee and requested a sword from his slave. They started trading blows so quickly that Rista's Sharingan eyes couldn't keep up. She asked Alulu to cast her haste spell, but she said she already casted it before they even entered the cathedral because Saya was overly cautious. She asked Rista if Saya would be okay, and she said yes, because before leaving, he said he was 100% prepared like always. But then it hit her. He never said it after breaking Valkyrie's back. Mash and Rosalie stepped up and said they would offer assistance, but Saya screamed to not come any closer, or they would surely die. They went in for the final blow, and Saya's arm got torn off. He went in for the kill, but Saya blocked it with his other arm. The demon was surprised that he wasn't screaming in agony, while Saya pointed out he was missing an arm as well. Then suddenly, the demon's arm tore off. He used the 9th Valkyria, a technique that takes a body part from the user as a catalyst to deal the same amount of damage to their enemy. He then ended the battle with a Phoenix Thrust. After the fight, Rista and Mash put his arm back together. The demon turned back into an old man, and Saya requested the goddess heal his wounds, then told Rosalie to take care of him. She claimed he wasn't her responsibility anymore because he sold his soul, but Saya bitch slapped her. She continued sassing, and he repeatedly. He then declared if there was anything she needed to say, she was running out of time. She then broke down in tears and asked the War Master to pat her on the head one more time. After the battle, Rista told the kids to go have fun in town because once Saya got up, he'll just want to train. She then proceeded to talk trash about his obsessive cautiousness, while Mash and Alulu tried to warn her that Saya was already awake. He knocked her over the head, and she got on her knees and announced their fearless leader was about to make a speech. He then declared they needed to prepare for the Demon Lord, and she immediately agreed. Mash asked about the casino, but Saya suggested training a bit since he almost just died, but first suggested they go relax in town for a while. The kids cheered with joy, while Rista danced around like a piglet dreaming about her romantic fantasies. When they got back from their day off, Saya was still out. They waited for hours, and he never came back. She started panicking and used her last resort. She went back to Arya, and when she got there, Arya was in tears and said they had to go see Ishtar. She led them into the room where time stood still. Ishtar appeared before them and informed them that the moment Saya left their group, he made his way to the Demon Lord's castle. He chose to go without them because of the chain destruction weapon the Demon Lord had in his possession and was worried about Rista. She couldn't believe her ears because he was always putting her down, but it was the truth. He's a kind young man, since he was summoned. Protecting the people close to him was all he ever thought about. Mash asked if he truly thought about them, and she explained. He originally rejected their aid to join his party because he didn't want to lose any comrades, and treated them with cold detachment and kept them away from battle for the same reason. He's been trying to balance his care for the three of them, as well as his mission to save Gaiabrande. That's why he saved Delulu from the Dragon Village, saved Mash when he was a hostage, and risked the destruction of his soul to save Rista. She didn't understand. If his objective was to protect them, why didn't he bring them back to train? But he couldn't. Due to his extreme fake-out skill, she was never able to perceive his real stats. He had been maxed out since the Dragon Village, and had not increased at all since. That's why he sought out Midas and Valkyrie to learn new abilities on top of his current stats, which was evidence of his concern. Rista admitted with those stats, he still wouldn't be able to defeat an S-class demon lord. Mash brought up the sacred sword exation, but she told them that he fabricated it, so the kids wouldn't worry about not having the sword. He is neither the sacred sword or the armor, and is the reason why he learned the strongest Valkyria, the gate of Valhalla. Rista said Valkyrie would never teach that technique to a human, but Ishtar pointed out that Rista already witnessed their backbreaking ceremony. His willingness to risk his life to save Rista and the kids was enough to touch even the goddess of destruction. Ishtar then stated that he was determined to succeed where he had failed before and rid himself of the guilt that has haunted his subconscious and to seek redemption. Rista asked what for. It all began 100 years ago, a B-level mission to save a world called Exphoria. The goddess Arya was leading a party with a young mage named Colt, their useless healer, Princess Tiana of Exphoria, and Saya the hero. Saya was never so cautious. He was always trying to move forward no matter the cost. They were planning to fight a chimera, but Princess Tiana suggested they prepare more thoroughly. Saya said everything would be okay, and he had a plan. It was to fight bravely and never back down. When they fought the Chimera, Colt almost got bodied, but just before Tiana healed him, Arya suggested healing Saya first since he was already down to 2 HP with a hole in his chest. Somehow, they made it through the battle, and Saya wasn't even phased, asking to move on while the rest of the party almost got bodied, and Colt was looking like this guy. Mash and Alulu noted that he was behaving like Rosalie, a complete battle freak. Arya stated he used to hate training and would just keep pushing the party forward, even though his stats were low, using his innate fighting abilities. He always managed to win the battle for them, so none of them were worried. Just before their battle with the Demon Lord, Princess Tiana suggested stopping by at the Sage's village because there was intel there about the Demon Lord's weakness. But Saya declined and suggested fighting the Demon Lord without it since they had the sacred sword. She grabbed his hand and asked him to say what he said before every battle, and he said everything will be okay, it'll all work out. That sent chills down Rista's spine as it was the equivalent to her Saya's 100% prepared catchphrase. During the fight with the Demon Lord, Saya finally cut it down and ended its reign of terror. Arya said its HP had reached 0 and they cheered, but before they knew it, Colt was stabbed through the chest by the demon's tongue. It wrapped around him and consumed him whole. It leapt toward Arya, picked her up and claimed that Demon Lords had an extra life. Arya said they should have stopped at the Sage's village for that information and told them to run. He ate her as well. Saya got up and apologized to Tiana, stating they should have been fully prepared for this battle. Suddenly, the Demon Lord had his clutches on Tiana and Saya collapsed. While Rista was in tears, Ishtar explained that she was Princess Tiana, reincarnated as a goddess. Thanks to Arya's wish and the good deeds she did in her life, she was reborn as a goddess of healing. It was no coincidence that she chose Saya to save Gaiabrande, but unlike her, he had no memories of the past. But his regret from that very moment was etched deep into his soul. When they first met, he said properties instead of status. He was a smart young man, and with that, he was able to decipher that he had been summoned in the past, and that it had led to a tragic end, with a secret note that implied to proceed with extreme caution. Rista immediately tried to leave, but Arya tried to stop her and said she couldn't lose her a second time. Rista thanked her for all she had done, but she couldn't sit by while Saya sacrificed himself. She opened a portal directly to the Demon Lord's castle, which was a violation of rules for the gods, but she didn't care and would accept any punishment after. The kids followed behind her because, after everything, they had grown attached to him as well. When they arrived, Saya was already battling the Demon Lord, and the enemy already had the upper hand. Saya put his hands together to cast the gates of Valhalla. With that, he was impaled through the heart, surprising him completely, as exation was the only weapon capable of damaging him. Then the gates of hell closed. But suddenly, he clawed his way out. Saya charged in with his phoenix thrust, but got blown back and spat out blood. He rushed in with the Eternal Blades technique and slowly synthesized the spikes inside into his sword, turning it into a divine sword. even stronger than a sacred blade, then used Valhalla thrust to strike him in the forehead. After the battle, Saya collapsed with blood leaking everywhere. Rista started weeping and requested Ishtar release all of the divine healing powers, further stating she'll accept any punishment. Ishtar said very well and granted her the power to save the man she loved. As she healed him, his wounds kept opening up. She grew her wings out and continued onward, wishing for a happy ending this time. When he woke up, the kid said it was like she was a real goddess. Saya asked if she really saved his life, and she said yes, then puckered her lips and leaned in for a kiss. He put his nasty, sweaty hands in her face and shoved her out of the way. He walked away, and she ran up, hoping to convince him into embracing her, and brought up their romantic feelings for each other. But he neglected everything she said and rejected her coldly. He warned her if she didn't back away, he would Mike Tyson KO her. When she pulled closer, he knocked her in the head like when John Jones obliterated that one guy. When Elulu asked them why hadn't the gate of Valhalla disappeared, the woman on top of the gate started screaming. As the gate began trembling, the demon lord came back out and declared it would take them all with him. He activated a black spirit bomb from his mouth, ready to annihilate everything in the world. Saya activated the gate of Valhalla once more and summoned an even bigger one. After it was swallowed up, the man on top of the gate noted that the demon lord of the world had been banished into the void and demanded its payment. Saya's body began deteriorating and falling apart faster than Rista could heal him. Saya thanked Elulu for her help against the War Master, saying if it wasn't for her, he would have died back then. She started crying and apologized for not turning into the sacred sword for him, and he would be alive instead of her, but he was happy to have taken her place. He told Mash now that the Demon Lord and all of the heavenly kings were gone, no one could match him in strength, and to work with Rosalie to take care of the world. He slowly embraced Ristarte and thanked her for everything she did. She apologized for failing him in their past life and failing him again. Then suddenly, Saya felt a deep familiarity like this had happened before, and he realized who Ristarte really was. He gently held her and told her he was relieved he was able to save her this time. Then he slowly disappeared from her arms and faded before their very eyes. Rosalie thanked Rista for everything they had done, offering to throw a parade in their honor, but Rista declined, stating the hero that saved everyone wasn't with them anymore. Rosalie was visibly saddened, and although they didn't agree on many things, she respected him because he was what defined a true hero. Elulu and Mash were appointed to Imperial Knighthood by Rosalie. She told Mash to look after the world while she was gone. Elulu stepped up and said she would look after him, which eased Ristarte's heart. They asked her to come and visit so they could go to the hot springs and casinos, then hugged each other and said their farewells. After she opened the portal, everyone saluted her, while Mash and Elulu looked all grown up. When she got back, she was so proud of the kids, then imagined Saya insulting her behind her back. She ran to the training room, hoping to find him there, only to discover the figurine, saddened and sitting alone. She laid in her bed, depressed and sad. Arya, the goddess of seals, unlocked her door and told her Ishtar was asking for her. When she got up, Arya brushed her hair like a loving mother. Once she was ready, they departed for Ishtar. On the way there, Adnala appeared behind her, offering her condolences, visibly more worried about Rista than her own feelings. Suddenly, the pathetic wimp showed up with the disgusting cake, claiming it to be a frozen cake. He offered it to her to cheer her up, and when she had a bite, she asked if it was a protein cake. He insisted it was a frozen cake, but Adnala's short fuse wouldn't hold. She stabbed straight through his hand and the cake with a knife, then threatened his pathetic little life. Midas popped up and suggested adding more protein to ensure a healthy, manly body. Arya warned her to hurry back to the Divine Forest in case Ishtar decided to punish her. She teased Ristarte, then squirmed off and crawled away like this disgusting abomination. Once they reached the top of the tower, Valkyrie was waiting to give her condolences and congratulated her on saving an S-class world. When they spoke with Ishtar, she stated her punishment will be to save the double S-class world called Xphoria. Arya stood up and noted that it was a world already conquered by the Demon Lord, who murdered the hero Saya and demanded to go in her place. But she didn't allow it. During her mission, her divine healing powers will be sealed away, and if she fails, her status as a goddess would be revoked. Arya, in tears, pleaded that the punishment was too harsh, then realized she overstepped, apologized, and kneeled down. Ishtar informed them that when the second gate of Valhalla swallowed up the Demon Lord, the chains of destruction were consumed before Saya perished. Ristarte came to the realization, and her eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. She demanded that to take back control of the double S-class Calamity, she would only be allowed to pick one hero. His stats and abilities had been reset, but that didn't matter. She cried tears of happiness and thanked the high goddess Ishtar. Written at the bottom was something she once thought was a disadvantage, but that personality trait defeated demon lords and saved worlds on the brink of destruction, a trait that saved her life many times. Do you think Saya and Ristarte could save a double S rank Calamity next? And do you think this show deserved another season? Like and subscribe for more anime recaps like this.